This is Lewis Hart for Boxing Social in partnership with Empire Fight Store. Delighted today to be joined with Francis Warren. How are you doing, mate? How's your Christmas?
It was good, thank you, mate. Yeah, yourself?
Yeah, all good, man. All good, you know. Good to be back at it. We're here for the Itauma brothers press conference. A real special sort of day for that family, I can imagine.
Well, it's more special for me and for Queensbury. Let me tell you, it's an absolute privilege to have both the guys here, and both, decided to. Carroll's re-signed. Obviously, Moses has signed his first pro deal and his first management contract with me. So it's a real good day for me personally, for Queensbury as a company, and I hope both the guys feel the same way. I'm pretty sure they do, because it's a special event for both of them to be fighting on the same card on the 28th of Jan, and it's a good day.
How big is it for Queensbury to get a talent like Moses Itauma? Obviously, all having Carroll as well, but Moses has the prolific amateur record. He has a lot of promise coming into it. How big is that as a signing for him?
It's big because Queensbury have always invested in youth, invested heavily in youth, and I think Moses is one of those once in a generation talents. Everyone can't be wrong, and there's not one person who's said anything different. I've seen it myself. Everyone saw him win the European and World amateurs last year. Won gold at both. The likes of Lawrence Okoli and Joe Joyce have spoke very, very highly of him. Shane McGuigan said some terrific things about him as well. So, like I said, everyone can't be wrong. And the most importantly, he believes it himself. And if you interview him, he's a really humble guy. He's down to earth, but he's a bugger when he gets in the ring. He's a real super talent.
When you hear, he's not even had a pro fight yet, and people are, talking such a big game, the next Mike Tyson, he wants to be, world champion by his 20. How do you manage someone like that with such big ambitions?
I'd encourage him to have a dream and an ambition. I don't think, when you sit down with a guy who's turning pro and you say to him, what do you want to do in your boxing career? If they say, I just want to win an English title, you think, really? The best answer is to win a world title. No one's given us a specific date up until Moses, and I think that if you set yourself such high targets, you're going to hold yourself to high expectations and high demands, and if he's willing to follow through with the hard work, then good luck to him. Good luck, and fair play to him for setting himself such a high goal.
You said that he wants 8 fights this year. It's not obviously very uncommon for someone to have 8 fights this year. Is there ever any worries that he could potentially feel burnout, having almost too many fights?
Well, no. You can see it. I think because we won't be, the opponents aren't going to get less in quality-wise as he fights more. If anything, there's a step up every single one. A little step up. And if he looks like he's getting a bit tired and a bit. And he needs an extra couple of weeks off, then we do it. He's given himself that pressure of declaring he wants to beat Mike Tyson's record, but he's got a long career in this. I know my dad's old saying is, it's a marathon, not a sprint. The first 6 fights, we'll say it's a brisk walk. we don't want to. I'm not putting any extra pressure on him. He's got to get these first 4 to 6 out of the way, and I think that we'll know, more if that's a realistic target then. But listen, let the wrecking ball commence. Let's see what happens over the next 4 to 6 fights. I'm certainly not saying it can't happen. I believe he can do it. I want him to do it, but it's my job to make sure that he's looked after properly, and maximises his potential and maximises the huge ability that he's got. And we won't be taking any unnecessary risks to beat a record, but we will be making sure that we help him fulfil his dreams.
Being only 18, he's blessed also, being young as well, but he's blessed to also have good people around him. How important is it for you to be around him, and also his brother as well, to just push him in the right direction and not get distracted by all the outside things that come with the game?
I mean, listen, anything, he's not one of those guys. He really isn't. He doesn't give a shit about all the other peripheral stuff. I've said to him, we've had some X amount of interest from this sponsor, that sponsor, and he says, I don't care. He goes, I just want to fight. Things change. Things happen in life, not just in a career. And obviously, it's my job to make sure that he focuses on what what's important if he wants to be a pro fighter. If he doesn't want to be a pro fighter in a year, then go for it. Dan Woolwich, though, I've got to say about Dan Woolwich, he's got a guy there that he trusts implicitly, and I think that if you want to talk to him about Rico's mentality and his temperament, I think you have a chat with Dan, because all he ever says to me is he just wants this so badly. He just wants it. And he trains twice a day, and I went through with his medicals on Friday, and I was saying, what were you up to last night? He goes, I was like, I trained for like 3 hours, but then I got home and I was like, I haven't trained hard enough. I was like, you need some downtime. I think if anything, it's going to be holding him back and chilling him out and making sure he does enjoy the fact he is 18. Enjoy he's saying about playing on a PlayStation. Have an hour a night on your PlayStation. Just chill out. So it's going to be tricky, but I think not. But for the reasons that he has got that ambition, I don't think it's going to be a case of we need to keep him away from people or keep him out of clubs or anything like that. That's not him. For me, it's going to be making sure that he's happy with the progression rate that we put him on.
For Queensbury, 2022 was a great year. So many great fights. We're starting off 2023 with a massive fight, Beterbiev versus Yarde. What are your thoughts on the fight, and what can we expect?
I think if the Anthony Yarde turns up that boxed Lyndon Arthur in that second fight, there's nobody that can live with him at light heavyweight, and that includes Beterbiev. I really firmly believe that. He's matured into a spectacular man in and out of the ring. I think I've got the absolute admiration for him, huge respect for him, and I just think that he knows that this is the huge opportunity. 3 world titles in one night, and he can go in there and he can just prove what an absolute hero of this sport he is. He's dedicated his whole life to it. Him and Tunde are stuck by each other, and that's one of the will be one of the big success stories for me of boxing, that he's stuck with Tunde, and Tunde's always stuck with him despite whatever everyone else. He didn't listen to anybody else. They just went, right, this is what we're doing and this is how we're going to do it. And I think if all goes to plan and Anthony Yarde puts in a 110% performance, because it will take 110% to beat that guy, but if he does it, then we'll have a new world champion on the 28th of Jan.
I was just talking to other media members here, and we were saying, light heavyweight, obviously, Carroll being a light heavyweight as well himself, obviously not ready for Yarde yet, but it's such a shark tank in the division domestically, and if he claimed that unified titles, there's massive fights there for Callum Smith, who's obviously mandatory, and Buatsi as well, big fights to make, domestically as well on a massive stage.
Yeah, I think as well. You've got to look at Dan Aziz isn't far off of them. I think I've got great respect for Dan. I think he's a terrific fighter. But yeah, Anthony goes and wins that. There's some monster fights to be made this year, and he's got a tough night's work ahead of him first. But yeah, we can all look forward to it. Listen, I think he's the best of the crop, Anthony. But yeah, I've got huge respect for Callum Smith. I think he's a terrific fighter, and Josh Buatsi's quietly gone about his work. But I think he hopefully he can he continues to do what he's doing.
Another massive fight would obviously be Usyk versus Fury. The IBF rescinded their mandatory. Just your thoughts on that?
Well, they did it a few years back with Jeremiah Ponce, who I look after with Universum. He beat Ritson up in Newcastle, and then he was immediately made mandatory for Josh Taylor. And then on the day of the negotiation period finished, they rescinded the order because they jumped the gun, and it was the WBA's turn, I think. So they've done it before, and it's just a case of tip your hat to the IBF for doing the right thing.
Is it all steam ahead now for Usyk versus Fury?
I've got no comment on it, mate, at all.
That's fine, no worries. Going back to the Itauma brothers on the card of Beterbiev versus Yarde, how important was it to get them two both on the same card? Like I said, they've never done it before, and it for being a first time. Well,
it was. I mentioned it sort of towards the end of last year, and they both had a big smile on their face. So I knew it was something that was important to them. And just had a chat with my dad and my brother in the office, and they said, yeah, absolutely, let's get it done. The race against time was obviously the fact that Moses only turned 18 on the 29th, so we could only apply for his licence on the 30th. We had his interview with the board last week. His medicals were done Friday, so bearing any hiccups or bumps in the roads, we're all good to go.
Just to finish off, what can we expect from Queensbury in 2023?
It's going to be a big year. Big year. It's going to be a heavyweight year and a breakout year for some of the lighter guys.
Francis, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.